Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 10-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all the support so far. Anyone leaving a comment, liking the video, tweeting at me, liking my tweets, all the above, really do appreciate the support. And if you are interested in some further content from me, I do offer a premium package. That's linked below in the description. You get access to all of my premium content, all the things that I use when building my own DFS lineups. Things like my starting pitcher data sheet, hot hitter Statcast data, splits leaderboard, team hitting data, bullpen data, my power rankings, and my cheat sheet. I think it's going to really help you out become a more profitable MLB DFS player if you are playing every single night, if you're playing a lot throughout the season. Go ahead and check that out. And if we reach 50 likes on this video, the like goal, I will be giving you guys my dark horse play of the day next video. It's a new segment. I've introduced a little bit of a bonus segment to give back to you guys for showing support. So keep that in mind. And I will be giving you guys my home run call of the day at the end of the video. Last night, we nailed it going with Vladdy Jr. in that Toronto game. Really liked Vladdy, and he went yards. So hopefully you played some Vladdy Jr. I know some comments in the chat. There were some happy winners last night off that pick, so glad to hear it. I definitely had it in my lineups. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. So as always, we're going to figure out the pitchers that we want to play first. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts, so I always sort my sheet by K-rate. And the top guy on the slate today in K-rate is going to be Tristan McKenzie, taking on the Seattle Mariners squad. A 32.6% K-rate overall, 38.6% K-rate against righties, and then a 25.5% K-rate against lefties. Has some very clear splits issues, gives up a lot of hard contact to those left-handed bats against righties. He's been really, really good. So we do prefer to target him against very right-handed heavy lineups, if at all possible. And when looking at the Seattle Mariners squad that they're expected to roll out tonight, you can see that they do have quite a few righties, but also quite a few lefties. It's a pretty good blend. With the addition of Jared Kelenic, they become a little more left-handed heavy. The new prospect, he hit his first home run last night, and he's supposed to be the real deal. So he leads off this lineup now. It's become a lot more of a threat at the top with him in there. But McKenzie, going to be kind of a discount guy that you could look to that has some strikeout upside with the Seattle squad that's been striking out a lot on the season. Although he leads the slate in K-rate, he's not the top arm. He is the top in K-rate overall, but not the best arm on the slate, but he is a discounted price for the guy that has a high upside, and you could definitely be looking to him in tournaments tonight. Second on the list, we got Carlos Rodon taking on the Kansas City Royals. He's got a 30.9% K rate overall, a 13.6 swinging strike rate, 29.7% K rate against righties, and then a 37.8% K rate against lefties. Also very good at the slugging across the board, the hard contact, the ground ball, fly ball stuff. And he's taking on a Kansas City Royals team tonight that's not exactly the most threatening, and he's definitely an interesting tournament option. Returning off the IL, it does look like there may be some weather concerns in this game, so we'll have to keep an eye on the forecast. He comes in at 11-4 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They got him priced at $10K. As far as his latest update on the injury, his back/hamstring, he said he's good to go on Saturday. He should be good though. Full pitch count is expected to be for Carlos Rodon, so that's what I'm trying to get at there. Should be good to go, full speed ahead, and comes in at $10K on DraftKings over on FanDuel. He's 11-4. As far as him being my top option on the slate, I'm going to have to lean towards Trevor Bauer, who we're going to talk about next year, taking on the Miami Marlins. He's probably going to be my top arm. Taking on the Marlins squad that's been striking out a ton. Comes in with a 30.4% K rate overall, 12.4 swinging strike rate, 32.7% K rate against righties, and then a 27.8% K rate against lefties. And the Marlins definitely do strike out more than the Kansas City Royals. So that's going to be the appeal there, and then not to mention that Trevor Bauer has a tremendous offense to back him up, so there's a good chance that he's going to get the win, which we always like to see when we're playing pitchers in our daily fantasy sports lineups, because you get that win, you get those extra points. Of course, we're always targeting to pick pitchers that are heavily favorited, so there are no Vegas lines released yet for this game. I'd expect that Trevor Bauer is going to be a pretty decent favorite. Comes in at 11K on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him at 11K as well. Top priced guy on the slate over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's priced below Carlos Rodon, who we just discussed. And as mentioned, if I'm picking one first look at this slate, I think I do have to go with Trevor Bauer. Just a better matchup, better offense to back him up. Everything kind of lines up for Trevor Bauer, so I'm going to have a lot of interest in him today. Aaron Nola taking on Toronto, 28.3% K rate overall, a 29.3% K rate against righties, and then a 27.1% K rate against lefties. Has been very good across the board in the ground ball, fly ball, and all that stuff, and he's taken on a Toronto squad The only problem is that this Toronto squad is really loaded up and down, honestly. They have a bunch of talent, and they're in a ballpark in Florida right now that is a minor league stadium, and, you know, it's their spring training facility. Not exactly the best pitching ballpark. I'd rather be targeting bats in this one. And for that reason, Aaron Nola is definitely a viable play, but a little bit more scary. I think he's going to be a great tournament play. You're going to get him low owned, so no issues be going to him as far as in tournaments. But just know that, you know, things are looking a little scary for him, especially when we have a guy next on the list that I'm going to have a lot of interest in today, in Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson taking on these Milwaukee Brewers, a team that's been striking out a ton all season long. A 27.9% K overall, 12.2 swinging strike rate. The ground ball and the fly ball stuff is tremendous. The hard contact stuff is tremendous. 24.7% K rate against righties, and then a 32.5% K rate against lefties. Actually is really, really good against left-handed bats, and when he's taking on this Milwaukee squad, it's going to be a great matchup for him because they have a bunch of lefties that strike out a bunch, and I'm really going to like Ian Anderson today for sure. Comes in at 8.6 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 9.2. And as mentioned, everything just kind of lines up here. Big power batsmen guys like Daniel Vogelbach, Travis Shaw, but they do strike out a ton. Omar Narvaez, Jackie Bradley Jr. Gonna like Ian Anderson a lot in this particular matchup. The only thing I'm not liking so much is he doesn't come out as the heaviest favorite, only a 115 favorite in this one. But with that being said, you know, you take what you can get in a matchup with a bunch of strikeouts at a discounted price if you need the extra salary to afford Bauer. Or if you're playing on DraftKings where you have two pitchers, I have no issues with pairing those guys up because I'm not a lot of interest in both of them. Tyler Mahle taking on the Colorado Rockies. That's going to be in Coors Field. A little bit scary targeting him, but he has a 28.2% K rate against righties and then a 24.1% K rate against lefties. And he's taking on a Colorado squad that doesn't typically scare us all too much, but in Coors Field, of course, it's going to be a little bit of a different story. It does look like there's a little bit of weather concern here, but the main thing is when pulling up the chart here that I always like to show you guys for a visual in Coors Field, you know, just a great hitter's park. Green all over the place. It has a huge outfield, plenty of room for the ball to land when it's hitting the gap, and a lot of ground to cover for those outfielders out there. And then when you're factoring in the guys that are playing the outfield, guys like Nick Castellanos and such, not exactly the most elite outfielders. Charlie Blackmon for the Rockies, you know, you kind of got to get on your horse when you're out there. And I think there's all the stars kind of aligned for a big game for bats in this one. And it's going to be kind of scary to be targeting pitching in that one. Dane Dunning taking on the Houston Astros. I'm not interested in him. He's been good overall, but the Houston Astros just really don't strike out. So I don't really think he has all too much upside. He might be able to shut them down, but I don't think he's going to have the highest upside game. Luis Garcia in that same game taking on this Texas Ranger squad. They've been another one that we've really liked to target all season long. He has a 25.6% K overall, a 12.4 swinging strike rate, 28.1% K rate against righties, and then a 22.4% K rate against lefties. Has really, really struggled against lefties as far as hard contact is concerned, so that's a little scary taking on this Texas Ranger squad. But if you're looking for a guy with upside, he definitely has it. This one comes in as a 194 favorite, and the Texas Rangers, as mentioned, do strike out a bunch, so no issues going there. You got Chris Paddock taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. They don't really strike out all that much either, but Paddock has a 29.6% K rate against righties. Has been a lot worse this year as far as K rate and everything's concerned, and just overall pitching-wise. So it's a little bit scary relying on those numbers. He's only 6'3" on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, he comes in at 7.7. So on FanDuel, he does have a very good discounted price. You're looking at what he's done so far in the season, though. You know, 4, 5, 7 Ks. He's starting to pick it up a little bit, and it's just a matter of pitch count. Only pitched 53 pitches last time out. But I guess so last time out they pulled him because of he was expected to have a short start after missing a week with an undisclosed injury. So if we get a report on his pitch count, I'll be a lot more comfortable with that. But we do have him priced at a pretty decent discount over on FanDuel, specifically at 6.3. No issues with going to him in the cheap price range. Cardinals team that is pretty right-handed heavy for the most part. Guys like Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Yadier Molina, Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader up and down the lineup. And a guy that really excels at striking out those right-handed hitters. So he could be an interesting option today for sure. Domingo Germán taking on the Baltimore Orioles is another team that strikes out a bunch. And he's probably going to be the last one that we're looking to on this slate today as far as pitching is concerned. 25.4% K rate overall, 12.8 swing strike rate, 25.6% K rate against righties, and then a 25.2% K rate against lefties. And as mentioned, just the matchup taking on Baltimore Orioles team that just has a bunch of Ks in their lineup. Comes in as a 172 favorite in this one, expected to get the win as well. And you know, just it's an upside matchup. The Orioles strike out a bunch. He has some pretty decent stuff, pretty good in the ground ball, fly ball stuff. Not the top K rate on the slate, but pretty respectable across the board. When you factor in his opponent, he could definitely get you there. He comes in at 8-2 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they got him priced at 7-9. So he's also an interesting option today. And with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. As always, I like to sort my seat by Sierra and figure out the worst pitchers on the slate as far as who we can target. And the worst guy on the slate today is going to be Seth Frankoff taking on these Washington Nationals. Only a 2 innings pitch sample size, however, so these numbers are really going to be a little bit misleading, but I think it's going to be pretty much a bullpen game for Arizona, and Arizona's bullpen really hasn't been that great, and they got absolutely blown up last night by this Washington Nationals team, and Washington's in another great spot tonight. Sometimes with bullpen games, it's a little scary because, they're going to be constantly bringing in guys that are going to be, not exactly in your favor as far as matchup with guys like Juan Soto, Kyle Schwarber, Josh Bell. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lefty out of the bullpen taking on those guys, which should kind of limit your upside as far as your stacks are concerned. But overall, the Arizona bullpen just really hasn't been good. And I think that these Washington Nationals could definitely be a good stack tonight. Only a 2 innings pitch sample size for Frankoff, so I'm actually going to take him off the sheet just because I think those stats can be a little bit misleading for you guys. If it's a small sample size, I'd like to let it be known to you guys so you're not looking at those numbers and thinking, he has been bad, but it's only 2 innings pitched, so that doesn't really mean much. I don't think he's good, so overall, still looking to target him, but yeah, I just want to take his numbers out the screen real quick. You got Chacin taking on the Cincinnati Reds. I think this is expected to be another bullpen game, and the Colorado Rockies bullpen has been absolutely terrible. So these Reds are going to be in a great spot today, and not to mention when you're looking at Chacin's numbers, really, really bad. He's getting up there in age. He's at the end of his career. He allows a 43.5% hard contact overall, 25.9% K rate against righties with a 519 slugging, and then against lefties, it dips all the way down to a 13.4% K rate with a 542 slugging given up. And that's just really bad. And you're pitching in Coors Field to an offense that's been one of the hottest offenses to start the season, and that's going to be a recipe for success for the Cincinnati Reds for sure. Definitely going to like them. Tyler Naquin, Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, Mike Moustakas, Eugenio Suarez, Tucker Barnhart, up and down the order. We've seen Jonathan India show some power recently in Coors Field. And Coors is definitely the location that will show off anyone's talent because, as mentioned, great hitters park. And these Rockies might be in for a long day with this bullpen game taking on Cincinnati. So you got to like the Cincinnati stack. Joe Ross taking on Arizona has been pretty bad across the board, but the hard contact and the ground ball, fly ball stuff, he's actually pretty respectable, specifically against righties. 452 slugging get up, still gives a lot of hard contact as far as slugging is concerned, but pretty respectable against righties. It's the lefties that really get him. It's a 447 slugging given up overall, 370 WOBA. The ground ball and fly ball stuff dips down. So we do prefer to target him with lefties. And when looking at Arizona's lineup, not to mention, like, Arizona's a tremendous park to target left-handed hitters. I always bring this up. Down the right field line. Really like targeting those lefties in Arizona. You can see a lot of green in that right field line. Plays pretty friendly to left-handed hitters. So that's another thing to be factoring in here. And with his splits, you got to like these Arizona Diamondbacks lefties. Pavin Smith, Eduardo Escobar, David Peralta, Josh Rojas, Josh Van Meter. Plenty of power up and down, and I definitely think they're going to be interesting options today. Brett Anderson taking on the Atlanta Braves, guy that's pretty good in the ground ball, fly ball stuff. Does give up some hard contact to right-handed bats, but the problem is he does a really good job of keeping the ball on the ground. Doesn't really strike anyone out, so the ball should be put in play here, and the Atlanta Braves stack could definitely be an interesting one. I'm just a little bit hesitant to stack against him when the ground ball rate's so great, and then not to mention the Braves, a team that's traditionally, very high as far as run total is concerned. Vegas only has them a 3.75 implied run total. So that just goes to show Vegas isn't very high in them either. And I'm not going to be all too interested in stacking up the Atlanta Braves. They're viable, but not getting too excited to go there. Jordan Holloway taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bad in the ground ball, fly ball, K rate all across the board. Gives up a 308 slugging to righties, however, and a 346 slugging to lefties. He's actually not that bad as far as hard contact's concerned, and the ground ball, fly ball stuff's pretty good against righties. Against lefties, he gets himself in trouble giving up fly balls, but even then, the slugging's not the worst in the world. And out on the West Coast, late at night, it's only about to be like 60 degrees, so the Dodgers are going to be viable. They're always viable. They could go off. I'm sure they're going to have like a 5 implied run total. I'm just a little bit concerned about fantasy and like how they get those runs. May not exactly be the traditional home runs we're used to seeing. I'll have to dig into the pitch data and everything. That could change. But first look, I'm not all too excited to be targeting these Dodgers tonight compared to some of these other teams. Anthony K taking on the Philadelphia Phillies in that Toronto ballpark in Florida that I had mentioned, minor league stadium. Has been pretty good against righties, and he's a left-handed pitcher overall. So surprisingly, really, really bad against lefties, though. A 677 slugging, giving up 42.3% hard contact rate, a 451 WOBA. So Bryce Harper's going to be in a great position here, and he's probably going to be low owned because it's lefty on lefty. No one really likes to play lefty on lefty. And the wind's going to be blowing out to right field at about 18 miles an hour. I was all over this game last night. It was 18-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. And one thing I want to let you guys be aware of, it looks like the wind's going to be about the same tonight. And it seems like that game, things started to be pretty extreme, blowing out to right field. Like the wind I was expected to kind of blow straight out, like right center kind of thing. And it became more of a crosswind, like left to right. And Bo Bichette like launched the ball just like off the bat. When you're watching the game, it's like that's gone. Even the way he reacted, he just absolutely put all of his swing. If you watch Bo Bichette, you know his swing's just like electric. He got all of it into it. Was walking to first base like it was a home run, and the ball just hung up there and died at the track because the wind was blowing like left to right. So I'm a little concerned that might be the case again tonight. So the right-handed bats are kind of scaring me in this game almost. Like I don't know. Like I really liked them last night. This is that same stack that I went with last night as far as the situation. And Anthony K is not the best pitcher in the world. He's shown decent numbers against righties, but the Phillies have some guys that really rake lefties, guys like Andrew McCutchen, Gene Segura, JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, Alec Boehm. But when I saw that, it was like, what? Like, it's a little concerning. So I'm like a little scared almost to go to these right-handed bats tonight. I don't know. Hopefully, like you can see on the screen right now, that wind looks like it's blowing kind of left to right again. If that kind of straightens out and goes to straightaway center, I'll have a lot more interest. But just watching that ball live die on the track was mind-blowing. The way he launched that ball. If you go back and look it up, if you're able to somehow get your hands on the film last night of that at bat by Bichette. But anyways, long rant there, but it was just really surprising not to see that ball go out. We saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. go yard to right field, and it had that effect of actually pushing the ball out. So long story short, I think Bryce Harper is going to be the #1 play in this game with those winds blowing out. Anthony K struggles against lefties. Really going to like him. Jorge Lopez taking on the New York Yankees. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's really been bad. The hard contact stuff's been bad. He gives up a 431 slugging to righties, 323 WOBA. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's a lot better against righties and lefties, though. Really struggles against left-handed bats. A 553 slugging, given up with a 39.7% hard contact rate. And unfortunately for the Yankees, they don't have the most lefties in the world. So he's going to get a pretty decent matchup as far as that's concerned. It looks like we have 5-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field. A little bit of a boost in Camden Yards, a great hitting environment for bats. So we always like to target these guys. Pulling up the diagram for you guys, you can see the green across the board as far as home runs is concerned. So like the Yankees bats tonight, you're going to have to do some digging as far as pitch data is concerned, because I think that's what it's going to come down to for me. And then not to mention the Yankees have been banged up a little bit. There's been no Gleyber Torres. Giancarlo Stanton sat out last game. If he's not in the lineup, that's going to be a little bit of a hit to the lineup. But guys like Brett Gardner, if we see any more lefties crack the lineup, we're definitely going to have some interest in those guys. So keep an eye on the Yankees lineup, like the lefties that are in there. I like the righties too, just not quite as much as we'd like to, really like them. Justice Sheffield taking on the Cleveland Indians does have some hard contact against right-handed hitting, a 340 WOBA given up with a 416 slugging. Fortunately, the Cleveland Indians don't exactly have the most stacked lineup, but they do have a few guys you can target for sure, and guys like Jordan Luplow, Framil Reyes, tons of power against left-handed pitching, so like those guys. Adam Wainwright taking on the San Diego Padres. Really like to target left-handed bats against him. Against righties, he's pretty good, but against lefties, he dips down in the hard contact, the fly ball, all that stuff. Gives up a 444 slugging. So the San Diego Padres lefties you got to have interest in tonight. Trent Grisham, Jake Cronenworth, Brian O'Grady, Marciano, all the lefties that crack the lineup. They only have a 3.73 implied run total. Does look like there's going to be about 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center, so that should help those left-handed bats. No issues with it going to them. And then once we get past them, Mike Minor taking on the Chicago White Sox, a team that really rakes off left-handed pitching, so I do like to target these White Sox bats when they're taking on a lefty, and he does give up a 4.09 slugging to righties, gives up quite a bit of hard contact. The ground ball, fly ball stuff's not the greatest, so the Chicago White Sox stack could definitely be a viable one tonight. A little bit of weather concern in that game. Looks like there are winds blowing in from like right center, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Yerman Mercedes, Yasmani Grandal, Andrew Vaughn, Larry Garcia, Danny Mendick, all those guys I just listed do great against left-handed pitching. No issues with you going to the White Sox stack tonight. And then Luis Garcia, we had mentioned his hard contact issues against left-handed bats against Texas. 606 slugging, giving up a 38% hard contact rate, 398 WOBA, 44.9% fly ball rate. Could definitely have some issues against these left-handed bats that Texas is going to roll out, so I think that's a good stack. Willie Calhoun, Nate Lowe, Joey Gallo, David Dahl, like those guys for sure. Tristan McKenzie has the same issue. Domingo Herman has the same issue, so those two guys you can definitely target some left-handed bats against. Baltimore, Seattle, unfortunately, are not the most loaded lineups, but the lefties in those lineups I have no issues with you going to tonight. As far as Baltimore is concerned, they got Cedric Mullins, Freddie Galvis, DJ Stewart, Rio Ruiz, Chance Sisco. Could we look at those guys? Tristan McKenzie taking on Kalenic. Sorry, that's gonna have to get used to pronouncing his name. Jared Kalenic, he's expected to be really good. Hit his first home run last time. Kyle Seager, J.P. Crawford, those lefties. Jose Marmelos has a bunch of power, so that could be an interesting stack for sure. Taking on McKenzie, and that is my overall breakdown. Those are the bats I'd be looking to. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Bryce Harper taking on Anthony Kay. I had mentioned his reverse splits, a left-handed pitcher that really struggles against left-handed bats. And Bryce Harper's a guy that hits left-handed pitching pretty well for being a left-handed bat. Does not get played enough. I constantly reiterate it because it's the truth. Looking at these numbers for Anthony Kay, they are terrible. A 677 slugging unit up to left-handed bats, 42.3% hard contact rate with a 451 WOBA. It's going to be a great spot for tonight for Bryce Harper in that Toronto minor league stadium in Florida with the winds blowing out right to right field at 18 miles an hour. All the stars aligned for Bryce Harper to go deep. And when you're looking at Anthony Kay's numbers as far as what he throws, really reliant on the fastball. On average, throws about a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. And against left-handed pitching with that exact same pitch, Bryce Harper absolutely mashes it. A 846 ISO with a 618 WOBA against that pitcher off left-handed pitchers with a 66.67% hard contact rate. Love this spot for Bryce Harper. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Bryce Harper going deep off Anthony Kay. You got that jet stream win out there. Terrible numbers against lefties, so really reliant on the fastball. Bryce Harper crushes that. Love the spot. Get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. And then don't forget to check out my premium content link below, as well as all of the KJK DFS links. We got all sorts of good stuff going on there. We got merch, all of the above if you're interested in some KJK DFS merch. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.